Let's welcome Team BEEDAI.
Hi, we are Team BEEDAI, and today we are going to present our survey questions, which is the electronic devices and internet addiction, and with our all roommates. Yeah. This is Angel, Daniel, Isabel, Eve, and Eudora, and I'm Brian. Okay. So before starting of our survey, we'd like to first show our table of content. So in the following, we're gonna doing by introduction, interviewee's background, and survey questions, and by the conclusion. So starting from the introduction. So in the past of 10 years, that the invention of new technologies such as electronic devices have made a fast-changing world for us. So in past of the 10 years, that probably you're still using letters, you're still writing on the paper, but then after the invention of computer, personal computer or laptop, you have starting to record and doing some homeworks on laptop, and also the smartphone adapted from a phone. You can actually have new functions by using social media, and last but not least. Probably in 10 years ago, you may still be playing board games, card games, but in this new era, you may having PlayStation, Xbox, such as these kind of new video games or online games have brought a new world to us. So coming to our target of this time, our target, we mainly get 3 targets. First of all, we like to identify the use habits of electronic devices of different ages and people from different nationalities. And secondly, we want to identify these common issues and general usage when using the electronic devices and people's perspective towards how these usage are. So on the first question, the third question will be, the third target will be researching whether the phenomenon of electronic devices addiction generally exists, which is corresponding to our topic, which is the electronic devices and internet addiction. So for the first target, as everybody knows that we actually survey at least 15 above foreigners, which gives us our different countries and nationalities, and at different ages, which is ranging from undergraduate to postgraduate. So that's the reason why we are identifying using habits of different ages and different people. And for the second one, so our survey questions are basically all on these aspects. So we want to know that how people uses their phone and how people looks towards the phone usages. And last but not least, so to conclude all of these, we want to know if phone addiction, this phenomenon, actually exists. And coming to the next category, we want to introduce to you that the interviewee's background, starting from on a state-by-state basis.
Okay, the woman on the left-hand side is Francesca. She comes from Italy, and she is very extrovert. She said she has been interviewed by students in same topic in past 2 years. And the middle one is Zovia. And the third woman is Anne. She comes from Russia, and she is very friendly. She answers our question in very detail.
Okay, so I'm gonna introduce our interviewers from Asia. So this guy over there is in Indonesian, and since I can't pronounce his name perfectly, I'll just skip it. He's a postgraduate student in College of Social Sciences, and he's 26 years old, and he described himself as an easygoing person. And in the middle, the girl in the middle is my classmate, Lai Tong from Hong Kong. She's a freshman in College of Commerce, just like us. And the 3 people over here are all from Thailand, and they're all postgraduate students too. The girl on your left-hand side is An. She's 23 years old, and She's in College of International Affairs. While the other two, the girl in the middle is BEEDAI. And the man on your right-hand side is Matana. They're both 26 years old and they're all from the college in the College of Social Sciences.
Okay, and I'm going to introduce our interviewees from Asia too. And this guy, his name is Pepsi. Yes, Pepsi with drinks. And he's my classmate, and he's from Vietnam. Yeah. And this one is Rico. He's from Malaysia, and he's 20 years old. And this guy, this is Alexander, and he's also from Malaysia, and he's also 20 years old. Okay, and Jasmine, this pretty girl, she's also from Vietnam, and she's also my classmate, and she's 19 years old now, and she's a shy but nice girl. And this is Javin Lee, and she's from Malaysia, and she's 20 years old. And Olivia, she's also from Malaysia, and she's 19 years old now.
And I'm going to give you a brief introduction of 6 Taiwanese. And from left to right, over there is Tina, Andy, Jerry, and Aspen, Li Fei, and Kevin. And they are all 18 years old undergraduates from Jeonju University, and 4 are from our department, accounting, and one is from Kevin is from law department, and Tina is from business administration department. And most of them describe their personalities as easygoing, and only Li Fei has a different answer. She said she's humorous. And as for astrological signs, there are 2 Capricorn, 2 Aquarius, and 1 is Taurus, 1 is Aries. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna introduce these 3 foreigner students. The first one is Keith, and he's from Belize. Belize is a country in Central America, and which has diplomatic relationship with Taiwan. And when we met Keith, he was walking with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was in a hurry, so she looks a little bit upset. But Keith still very nicely helped us finishing our interview, so I really appreciate it. And the second one is Oh Jaime, and he's from the USA and studied in international affairs. And he's really handsome and nice, and I probably fell in love with him. And the third one is Maddox, and she's also from the USA, and he's a postgraduate student and studied in communication college.
Okay, and following is the survey questions, and the following 4 questions will be me to introduce to you guys. And question number 1, do you have electronic devices? If yes, what kinds are they? And we have listed several different electronic devices in our questionnaire, and also we provide a blank space for our interviewees to fill in if they came up with some other devices. And among all the options we offer to them, the 4 are the most common ones they own: smartphones, notebooks, PlayStation Switch, or tablets. And 24 out of 24 people owns a smartphone. It's not out of our okay, and this is 100%, and notebook also 100%, followed by tablets. A quarter of our interviewees owns the tablets, and last one is PlayStation Switch, only 8.4%. Question number 2, what do you think is the most important role that your mobile phone plays in your daily life? To look at this graph here, about half of our interviewees answer that communication is the most important role that their phone plays in their daily lives, following by the function of searching and browsing for their informations. And the 3 are some fun usage of them, like relaxation, educational use, and porn. Yeah. So we can conclude this graph. We can see most of the people use their phone for an access to the internet and to the others. And the third question, if you get to choose to save only one app in your phone and delete all the others, which will be your choice? And we have put all our interviewees' answers in order, from in the order of their amounts, and we can divide it into 3 categories: 4 and 2 and 1, and combine this result with last question's outcome. We can see that most people actually use their phone as a communication and the access to the internet, since Facebook, WhatsApp, Line, Instagram, and Messenger are the communication usage, and Google, YouTube, Twitter, and Safari, and Pleco, I'll mention it in the following, and those are in browsing usage. And I'll mention this Pleco. It's a translation application. Yeah. And question 4, would you buy a mobile phone for your kids in elementary if you were their parents? Over half of our interviewees answers yes, the yellow part, because they think it's safer for a little kids to contact with them, since something bad might happen. And the rest of our interviewees answers no, because they think they are not mature enough, so they might control it themselves from overusing the phone, and overusing the phone might also hurt their eyes. Okay, and
Okay, for the question number 5, how old were you when you owned your first electronic devices? And in this chart, you can see all of our interviewees have their first electronic devices under the age of 18. It's very surprising because electronic devices is considered as a luxury. It's kind of expensive. But nearly 50% of our interviewees have their first one under the age of 12, which is in elementary school. And we also have 10 interviewees have their first one when they're in junior high school. Okay, for the following question is, what of the following functions do you use the most at a time? It's when you have your first electronic devices. And we have 24 interviewees and all of them answered chatting. And this outcome can respond to our question to what is the most important role your electronic devices play in your daily life. And for the question, we got the most answer is communication. So just like chatting. And for this question, we also have answer is listen to the music or studying and watching video. Okay. For question number 6, how much time do you spend on social media? sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp. And please look at this pie chart. We have range from 0 hours a day, 1 hour, 2 hours, and it's increasing on a clockwise. So it's generally our interviewees spend 3 to 4 hours a day on social media. And we also have 21% of our interviewees say they spend 1 to 2 hours, as many as the answer 6 hours or above. For question number 7, how often do you check your all types of message in an hour? Okay, we have 5 interviewees answered. They check their message twice an hour, which is they check their phone every 30 minutes. And look at this pie chart, we can find our interviewees are located in this interval. It's from twice an hour to maybe 10 times an hour. And we also have an interviewee, he actually tell us he check his phone whenever he receive a message. So he probably check his phone every 1 to 2 minutes. You can say his eye is basically stick on the screen.
Okay, question 8. How often do you procrastinate because of using electronic devices? And the horizontal axis is the score people think they can get. It's not a real time people procrastinate because of using electronic devices per week. And the vertical axis is the number of people. And what does the score on the horizontal axis mean? When people choose 10, it means they always procrastinate because of using electronic devices. In contrast, when people choose 1, they never. In this diagram, we can see that 6 people think they can get 7 score in this question. It means they're almost always using electronic devices and result in procrastinating something. And it's notable that 3 people choose 10 and they always procrastinate. And overall, they think they get very high score in this question. It means they have the bad habit. Move on to the next question. Question 9. Have you kept using electronic devices even you want to stop using them? If yes, please explain. It's an interesting question. Maybe you will think this situation is like an exaggeration, but in fact, it's an easy question to test whether people have addiction about electronic devices. And in our survey, people say yes. We conclude their reason into 5 sentences. For the first and fourth one, it's about communication. Communication online nowadays is a very important method to contact with others. Maybe you will discuss presentation through internet. So people may be afraid of missing messages from others. And for the second one, people's reason is prepare for examination. And they think they don't want to interrupt their study tempo. For the third one, take a person who comes from Malaysia, for example. He say when he saw a sporting news such as NBA, he can't stop watching it. And for the last one, it turned into a habit. Although there are not messages, but people still open their cell phone and keep checking their cell phone. Okay, next question will be introduced by Eve.
Okay, so question number 10. Have your parents or friends ever told you to stop using your electronic devices? If yes, please tell us their reasons. So according to the survey results, we have 5 of our interviewees answer no, while 19 of them answer yes. And among these 19 people, there are several reasons such as their parents tell them to sleep earlier, or their friends think their uses too frequently. Hope he or she gets into the real world, stop playing games, and focus on academics. So we can discover that electronic devices may affect people's sleep quality or the relationships between human beings. As for the question number 11, without electronic devices, what kind of inconvenience will you experience the most? So we have classified all 24 questions into 6 main categories, which are respectively losing contact with others, losing access to online information, stop talking to family, can't listen to music, can't study on electronic devices, and the last one, can't receive the latest news. So the communication-related questions like the first and the third ones are the most common answers. And as for the second, fifth, and sixth ones are popular too, due to the advancement in technology. To sum up, electronic devices are influential in many different aspects in our lives, like communication, information seeking, and entertainment. So for question number 12, will you feel depressed or nervous when you can't use your electronic devices or when you can't connect to the Wi-Fi network? We also got 5 say no and 19 say yes. The proportion of yes accounts for about 75%, which is quite large. Most of them say they can't live without Wi-Fi. One said even slow network makes him unhappy. So from this result, we can see internet and electronic devices plays a really crucial role in our daily lives, since whether a person is connected to the Wi-Fi or not may have something to do with their emotions. Okay, so for the next 3 questions, we'll presented by Angel.
I'm going to talk about the following 3 questions. Question 13, do you prefer studying using electronic devices or books, and why? 63%, more than half of people prefer electronic devices because they think they are more convenient and easier to carry around. And they can provide more functions than books, such as searching information online. And 37% of people have different opinion because they think they cannot get used to studying through electronic devices. They still like the feeling of writing on paper form items. After all, in the past, they always read textbooks and write on them during high school. And question 14, do you agree that electronic devices have a negative impact on academic or work performance? Whether yes or no, please explain. And according to our survey, almost half of people say yes because they admit that they have a little bit addiction on electronic devices, which reduce their time spending on working or studying, and therefore letting their performance get worse. And a quarter of people, say no, disagree on the above statement because they think electronic devices help them study further and work more efficiently. And the remaining 17% of people votes for both sides because they think electronic devices have pros and cons and they can't really measure which part is greater. And this is question 15. Would you like to share with us the last report on your cell phone use and which app? In the conclusion, we classify those apps into 3 genres. Social media like FB, Instagram, and Line. Music software like Spotify, KKBox, browser engine like Google, Safari, and the answer no means that they refuse to share with us. And as you can see from this graph, up to 82%, a large proportion is from social media, which proves that communication really plays an important role in the use of electronic devices. And next is Brian Cho to introduce the following questions.
So for two following questions, this is a series of questions that we have been making into a set. And for the first question, did you play games on electronic devices? If among video games, online games, or mobile games, which type of game did you play the most and why? So as this pie chart indicates that 25% of people, they choose to play online or video games in general, and mobile games that they only stand for 8% of people, which is about 2 people. And which is about 6 people. And the rest of the people, which is 67%, they answered that they have never played games. And the reason why that they play online video games is because that, they think that it is relaxing, or it have a better view on the personal computer. So it actually comparing to online and video games to mobile games, you actually have a better screen, and you actually can experience the online games in a better form. And as for the 8% of people who choose to play mobile games, because that they believe mobile game and your mobile phone is more easier to carry around, and also they may be playing with friends. The reason why they play with friends, and they believe that in this somehow can enhance their relationship between friends and friends. But also it occurs in also playing online video games. So somehow some online games that you need to team up to fight against another group. So that's also the reason why they play online games, to enhance their relationship. So for the rest of the 67% of people, they believe that playing games will maybe occupy their time to study or to learning other information, so they choose to not to play games. So for question 17, and there are gonna be subclauses, which is 17A and 17B, but they are based on the question 16, which is about the types of games they chosen. So for those who chosen to play mobile games, then we'll come up to the question 17A. How many hours a day on average did you play mobile games? And suppose you receive USD 500 from your parents, including the living expense. Will you spend on playing mobile games or buying mobile games? If yes, how much? And so for the statistics of this specific questions, none of them gonna...
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. None of them gonna place your time on playing mobile games or buying any mobile games. And 2 interviewees which previously answered that they will play mobile games answered that they play mobile games less than an hour a day. And as for question 17B, how many hours a day did you play video or online games? For those who answered online games or video games on question 16, they say that they have a 1.5 hour on average. And 6 interviewees, they actually say that if in this situation, so suppose one day if your friend or your family asks you out, will you immediately end the game, or will you wait till the game are ended? Then 3 people answered that they will end the game immediately, because they believe that people is more they cares more about people. They put people at first, and another half, they however will finish the game first, which this 3 is from Taiwanese, and this 3 are foreigners. Okay, so coming to the conclusion that we believe that there are 3 things that we can say. So for the first conclusion, that people nowadays at least own one electronic device and have their own usage on communication. So as question 2, question 5, you can show that social media or chatting, this kind of social media may be the main function that people using in their electronic devices. So this is the reason why that communication is the main usage of them. And the second conclusion, that as many functions of electronic device have improved or introduced in recent years, electronic devices have step by step changed the habits of people using e-learning systems or the way of communicating. So like I said before, that using letter and the comparison between using line text messages and Facebook. And also e-learning system, like most of the people in this classroom, I believe that we used before Moodle or WM5 Or also in past in Hong Kong, I'm using Blackboard to use. And also iPad is a new rise to fame in a very sudden way because they have their Apple Pencil with their note-taking system, which also make e-learning systems a really newly invented and also famous things that people are nowadays use that very much. And the third conclusion, which corresponds to the topic that we this time are talking about, is the people are aware of the electronic devices' impact or daily life. However, overusing that may turn into addiction. So according to our questionnaires, that most of the people answered that they understand that overusing the phone may turn into addiction. So such as the question previously, Eve have talked about that will you think that if you don't have a Wi-Fi or network, will you be depressed or anxious? And 19 people of this questionnaires out of 24 answered that they will feel depressed. And that's also a reason why we can see that if you overuse the electronic devices, it's actually a something that is an addiction, and once you didn't have them, you may feel anxious. And so to conclude by all of these, we believe that since the technologies are keep changing and changing, and people are still aware of using these kind of technologies, the only thing we need to understand is the balance between overusing and not overusing, and the function that we are using. So make sure that before using electronic devices, we know what to use, how long should we use, and what time to use. And thank you, and this is our all of our presentation, and entering to the Q&A session.
So feel free to ask questions or make comments.
I just want to make comment. Yes, I think your presentation is, I think you have put a lot of effort into it. So I really appreciate that. And I think you have distributed your workload evenly, because I think everyone have one or two chance to talk and in by turns. I think it's very good because I think everyone you can refresh the voice.
Thank you for the constructive comments, and I do agree with that. Good. So, more comments and questions? Yes.
What's the difference in e-learning between Taiwan and other countries?
It's basically just system. It's a different system. Like we use this Blackboard, but somehow the format is actually about the same. So there's no really big differences, but then I believe that it's just the different system from different companies, and which are more general in that country or that specific region. Yeah.
I'll make comments. Yeah, I think everyone is well prepared, and PPT is very good, but a little bit too long. Yeah, it's and a little question is that the PPT has too much words. It is a little bit uncomfortable to see that a lot of words on PPT. A little bit. Yeah, but I think the whole is good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. And yes.
There is a question about the type of game. Can you shortly explain the difference between mobile game and game?
Okay, so mobile games, we basically talking about the games that you're playing on smartphones. And for online games, to be more specific, I will be showing on the online games that we are playing on personal computer, so such as League of Legends or somehow like that. And mobile games probably, I don't really play mobile games a lot, but then like some mobile games are the royalty, I don't know what is that. Okay, and for video games, actually PlayStation or Xbox is kind of like mobile game, video games that you play on the television. Yeah, so that is actually the type of games I have been categorized into.
Good. Any others? One more question or comment? Okay, so then thank you very much.